All right, you are listening to Information and Inspiration with Jen Julius, helping you take control of your own life by finding clarity, improving your communication, and building confidence to achieve your goals. For more information about me and my guest, you can go to jenjulius.com and check out the radio tab. Today, I have Audra Grady, and I'm so excited. She's on my show, and we will be discussing earth-based practices and ecopsychology for creating a sustainable livelihood. Wow, right? Audra, can you go ahead and tell us what you do, where you came from, and why you're so awesome?
Sure, Jen. I'm super excited to be here. So first, I just want to acknowledge you for all the awesome work you do and having this show go on for so long and really bringing inspiration to people that need it. And your work is powerful, and I've seen it in action, and I'm just really excited to collaborate with you today.
Let's just start the tears now, right? Thank you. Thank you. Oh, my word. Well, it's an honor to have you.
Thank you. So I'm Audra Grady, and I'm a conscious biz coach, and I work to help coaches and healers, practitioners of all sorts to set up sustainable businesses. I'm really passionate about integrating earth-based practice and eco-psychology into the business world as solo entrepreneurs, especially, and to help us all move towards a more life-affirming way of being on the planet. And I didn't always come from that idea. That's pretty new for me. So working on my dissertation now on that topic, integrating eco-psychology and sacred economics specifically. And before that, I came as a little girl from Maine, lived in the country, grew up in the forest, and came to California 3 years ago. So this is a big shift for me over my lifetime. There's been a lot of transformation that's brought me here, but I feel the call to keep moving forward. So.
Wow. So why are you so awesome? I mean, we got to add a piece of that too.
Yeah. Why am I so awesome? Well, I've overcome a lot of, trauma and difficult times in my life. And not that, others don't have that same story. We all have things that we overcome. What I have been able to do is transform that into how I work with my clients. And so when I see people, I see them from their perfection and their divine nature first, and know that they're exactly in the right place that they need to be no matter what hardship they're going through. And so I come from that heart-based place with my work. And then we dig into the nitty-gritty of setting up a business and what does that look like. And the awesome part of this work is the thing I'm being called forth to now is really integrating eco-psychology and sacred economics, and helping especially holistic practitioners and coaches to really bring that into their business. So we'll talk more about what that might look like.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. And this concept of eco-psychology and earth-based practices, I'm really excited to hear about. And so I'm curious, can you kind of define what you mean by earth-based practices or eco-psychology?
Sure. So first, earth-based practice, to me, I use the analogy of meditation and mindfulness. Those are easy things for most people to grasp nowadays as a practice. And when we practice something, it's coming into presence, coming into being present with ourselves and present with whatever's happening around us. So in an earth-based practice, we're doing that within ourselves, but in conjunction or intersection with nature. So on the land, in the wild, or with our earth-based body, right? Like we are earth beings, we're human beings before we're human doings. And so coming into that connection of like our basic nature, and how we are in line with the basic nature of Earth at all times. And we see that in the rhythm of the time of day or the seasons, the cycles of our life, or the cycles of, for women, our moon especially. And so earth-based practices are coming into alignment with our natural state of being as best we can.
Wow. I mean, that nails it, right? So coming into our natural state of being as best we can. Is that right? Yeah. And unfortunately, I feel like that's not a very common concept, right? Especially in the business realm. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, can you give a little bit of an example about then how that natural way of being ties in to the business realm? And also you were talking about sacred economics, right?
Yeah, sure.
So what does that kind of all look like? Because these are, I think for most people, these are new concepts. Even for me, I've barely heard about this.
Okay. So, let's talk about earth-based practice in your business first.
Sure. Perfect.
So for me, what this looks like is a starting point for most of us would be coming into our natural flow throughout the day. So our system, our culture is set up around 9 to 5, if you're lucky, right? Or 7 to 7 if you're not.
Yeah.
But it's set up in this system of working to increase profit, to increase income.
Right.
And so we do need to have profit and income because we live in an economic system, and it's not all going to change overnight where we can just magically not make money and just have food growing. And, there are things that we might aspire to be more connected to the earth. So we need money to live, but we don't necessarily have to equate money with this drive, go, 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 be working constantly 14 hours a day. That doesn't have to be the way that we work. Yeah. So stepping into your natural rhythm or your natural flow, aligning more with an earth-based practice in your business can look as simple as getting connected to what is your rhythm. So observing how you rise and fall during the day. What's your energy like? We often have more energy in the morning. Some people don't. That could be because you're just a night owl, or it could be because your food or your nutrients or supplements are kind of off balance, right? So we have like these rises of energy, and then we have crashes, and then we want caffeine and sugar. So the more we can come back to our natural rhythm, the more we can be in flow with it's more of a clear energy for me. So if I can let myself take 2 hours in the middle of the day and cook a meal for myself with organic local food and lots of veggies and protein, and then I can put my feet up and lay down, I'm going to have so much better energy in the afternoon to actually focus and bring my work into the world. So we don't have to be working on this, 15-hour schedule. We can be working 7 hours, but getting a higher quality of attention and work done in our day.
I literally, of course, because this is how the universe works, was just the 2 clients I had yesterday. I had to really explain this concept a little bit too, and didn't realize that maybe this is what I was talking about too, was just the simple concept that sometimes when we figure out what specific self-care practices really influence our overall well-being the most, as soon as we honor and make time for those, we tend to notice drastic shifts then in our productivity, our focus, etc., our energy levels, right? I had a client that is highly anxious, and she knows that sleep directly correlates to her level of anxiety. Her level of anxiety directly correlates to her ability to be productive and focused at work. So it's become this cycle, right? And so I said, check it out. And I just had to make the map. If you can sleep more, look at how it's going to impact positively every single thing in your life that you're qualifying as being very important to you. Self-qualifying, right? Right. But our culture has gotten so far away from that simplicity in a way, right? It's the go, go, go. If so-and-so can be this productive, so can you. And it's like, what does productive look like? 'Cause that's pretty subjective. Yeah. And we all have different levels of intensity and energy, and
And we have to look at where our intentions are coming from. So if you want more sleep or you want to lose weight, it's typically because we want to make more money, or we want to have more energy, we want to be more productive, we want to do more. And if you can shift that intention of, I need to have regular sleep, I need to eat good food so that I can come from my best self, and come from the intention of being most aligned with our earth beingness, right? Like our natural state. The long-term outcome, the vision for our business, for our life, for our livelihood, whatever it is going to be, there's going to be more quality to that over time. And we're not going to cycle through these addictive patterns or these struggles with our health.
Yeah. Yeah. I really appreciate that, just because I really think that when people start to tune into their own ways of being, like what really works for them, that's when they can finally find some of this flow that we're talking about. Right?
It does take some time to get there sometimes.
Well, because it takes a really high level of personal awareness. And that's, again, another trait that I think we've really gotten away from. We really look to what works for everyone else, and then we'll do that. But half the time what's working for everyone else isn't necessarily true either. It's just the fad that we've jumped on the wagon with for the year, right?
Yeah, and we also have, so this is where the ecopsychology part comes in. So ecopsychology, ecotherapy are actually therapeutic healing tools and practices to work on the psychological pieces that might come in like block us, right? So to have that kind of awareness and to be able to step into this kind of flow, we have to remove the obstacles. So we have things we need to heal and overcome and process within ourselves. So trauma of any sort. And when we say trauma, most people are like, I don't have trauma, right? I wasn't abused, or I didn't have, some dramatic thing happen to me. Trauma can be as simple as not getting enough sleep for 30 years in your life, right? You're traumatizing your natural body.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of things that we might need to heal, those obstacles that we need to move out of the way so that we can actually step into this flow and alignment. So ecopsychology would use these earth-based practices in connection to psychological or therapeutic practice. Now, I'm not a therapist. I don't do ecotherapy in that way. But the principle of that is something that we can bring into our lives. And the earth itself and our connection to it can help us with that healing process. That's the idea.
It makes me wonder, because I know that you and I both are really, really like nature fanatics. Like we're like, you know what? I just need to go outside for a second.
Yep.
For me, I'm like, before I present, all my assistants know that Jen's got to go have her tree time, before she goes on. And it makes me wonder, because some people are like, well, I'm not really that into nature. Like, and this is maybe a little tangential, but it just makes me wonder, because I'm a big proponent for individual truth. Not everyone's going to need the type of tree time I do, maybe. But for people that feel like they're not that into nature, it makes me wonder, like, are they really not, or are they just really disconnected? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think our culture is disconnected in a way. Like, we've been raised in this structure, concrete buildings, cities, sidewalks, right? Where trees are an afterthought, and they're planted after the buildings go up, and the whole thing has been designed. So living and growing up in that culture, nature and the wild especially can be scary because it's a place that you don't go. It's a place where there's danger and animals that could hurt you, right? So we've been raised in many cases to not be in connection to nature for certain reasons. And so I don't necessarily think it's a disconnection. I think it's just like we haven't been introduced to it in a way, or in a way that can be nurturing to the relationship that we need to build with nature or with the wild. This was something that came up for me recently because I was on a vision quest. And
whoop, whoop.
Yeah, so Jen's going on a vision quest.
2 weeks till then. And Audra, you were a big part of me making the decision to do it. So thank you.
I'm honored to be part of your process.
Yeah.
So that was really powerful for me. The first night we were with the group, and it was one of the first nights I put together the fire. And somebody said, "How do you know how to do that?" I have most of the group, at least half, had never been in the wild, had never been camping overnight, had to buy a tent and a sleeping bag, had never done any of this. They've always been in cities.
Wow.
Several students were international students living in mega metropolises, no connection to the wild. And I had this moment of realization. I was like, oh, right. I did grow up with this. And I think to myself, oh, I'm not a wilderness guide, or I'm not trained or certified in these certain things, but I grew up in the forest.
Yeah.
I grew up, with the trees and the rocks. Those were my places to go to. Yeah. I had my huge rock in the middle of these 3 awesome trees, and that was my place. That's where I went. So, for me, it just comes a lot more natural, and I can step into it. But not everybody grew up in that way. And so we just need to reintroduce ourselves. And we have awesome state and national parks. They don't give you the full wild wilderness experience, but they can get you pretty close. And so the more time you can sort of ease into those kinds of public places that are more natural and more preserved, the easier it can get.
Wow. Yeah. Oh man, I'm already thinking. Well, do you want to do you want to share any more about your vision quest and how that helped? Did it influence now your passion for the ecopsychology or the earth-based practices?
Yeah, sure. It definitely did. It solidified for me that this was part of my path that I needed to pursue. And it's always been in the background for me. So when I was doing my master's, I have a master's of science in organizational management. I was looking at corporate social responsibility. So I focused on social entrepreneurship, and I wanted to go into companies. And you know what I ultimately realized at the time in mid-2000s, 2006 or so, was most of the companies that were doing corporate social responsibility, it was more of a greening, right? So it's this kind of surface level, maybe we'll save some paper, maybe we'll recycle, et cetera. But we really need to look at the whole system, the whole supply chain of a company. And I was like, that I don't want to come from this angle of going in and helping people learn how to recycle. I want to come from some other angle. And so then I moved into yoga after that and really found my own relationship to my body, which I think, felt like a detour at the time, but was exactly what I needed. I needed to go through my own healing and transformation process.
Yeah.
But sustainability and ecology has always been in my life. It's always been present in one way or another. And so during the Vision Quest, what I had the opportunity for was like this deep space and time where everything was clear. I didn't have to be doing anything except just being present with myself and the wild nature that I was in.
Yeah.
And in those moments, I was like, wow, there's been all these pieces in my life. Now it's time to weave these together. Right. So I just heard, I wanted to mention Charles Eisenstein today. So he wrote Sacred Economics.
Okay.
If you go to his website, the book Sacred Economics, he has a short film, 12 minutes. It's really profound. It's easy to watch, simple. One of the things that he talks about is how our age as a culture, we've been in an adolescent age, right? A Vision Quest is a rites of passage. So that's one of the things that ancient cultures used to do to have children grow into adults. And so Charles is saying, like, we're in this adolescent phase as a culture on Earth. And now we need to step into our adulthood. We need to go through that rite of passage together culturally. And so part of my vision out in the wild was that I need to be a part of that process in a certain way. And I need to start bringing this into my work more specifically.
Wow. That's quite significant.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no small,
Yeah, that was just one thing out there.
Just one thing.
Yeah.
Wow. And now that's been, because that was only a few months ago. So it's been something that you've been incorporating kind of on warp speed then lately.
Yeah. I mean, I was already, part of my doctoral studies, my courses has been ecopsychology. So it just kind of came together in a culminating moment when I was on the quest. But I've been putting these pieces together for a while. I think, now's the time when I can actually start to integrate it in a way that I can present it publicly. Like I said to you, this is actually the first time that I'm really talking about integrating this into my work. And it's being called forth. And other people are saying, hey, I need you to come speak about this because that's, the next step that my group needs to hear about. So I'm doing a local talk on Sunday that just like popped up, so these synchronicities are happening and people are asking for it. So,
wow, that's how you know you're in alignment, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And in tune and connected, plugged in, right? Wow. Okay. So I want to hear too, we have some great stuff coming up that Audra's going to share with us. 5 ways that we can create a more sustainable income in the new business paradigm, 3 steps to creating connection and engagement with our community, and a money tool for getting clear on how much you need and want to receive, right? But I also, before we have our break, I want to hear a little bit more too about, you mentioned the rite of passages, about the coming of age, about those concepts. So could you elaborate on that a little bit for people, again, that may not be familiar with some of those terms?
Sure. So a vision quest is, let me start with that.
Sure.
We've been talking about that. Is one way that we can go through a rite of passage. It is something that has been used in cultures for thousands of years. And typically now when people do this, it's a 3-day fast period. You're in the wilderness. There's a preparation and integration before and after your experience, but you're without shelter, without food. You're in the wild for 3 days with very basic survival pieces like tarps, for example, a sleeping bag, warm clothes, and water. And some electrolytes, which is key nowadays. So that's the basic sort of outline of that experience. So as a rite of passage, these kinds of experiences have been used in cultures all over the world. And actually cultures before history was really written down, like many cultures were doing similar things. We see this in religion too, right? Like there's many major religions around the world. There's a lot of basic principles that are the same. And so if we look at that, the basic principles of being human, when we started to come into culture, building culture as humans in a community, there were certain things that were happening. And rites of passage is something that has happened for thousands of years. And now sometimes we get it in our culture, especially in the US, and sometimes we don't. Most of the time we don't. Our rites of passage look like getting a driver's license and getting a car, or the drinking age. Things that aren't really connected to our human beingness, but this structure and society that we've created.
Right.
So the rite of passage is something that helps you step into the mature adult that you need to be in your life to take on a different level of responsibility and step out of the child experience in life. And so, stepping into how you take care of yourself and how you need to take care of others, what that looks like. And also, what is your purpose or vision? What are you meant to be doing in your life? And so the vision quest itself is a quest for a vision. So at the end of the 3 days, sometimes people have visions for how their life is supposed to unfold next.
Could you just expand real quick on the concept around purpose? Because I think some people, I think there's some mixed feelings about, like, do we have a purpose that each of us is individually supposed to align with, right? Or do we just totally choose to how we want to live our life all the time? Both, yes, I'm sure. But what do you think?
I think it's different for different people. And some people have a really clear vision and a drive, and their purpose is defined for them in a way that is very specific, and others, it's one day at a time, one step at a time, one breath at a time. And it's just being of service and showing up, each day. So it can be vastly different for different people. For some, it's being a mother. And raising children. Yep. For some, it's building a company or an organization that will make change. Yeah. So purpose is something that we need to define for ourselves, and something that we need to, in my opinion, seek out. But it's easier to come in alignment with that when we are clear and most aligned with our natural self.
I absolutely believe that we all have a purpose, right? And I think that, like you said, it could be being a parent, and being a great one and just raising those kiddos, right? Or building a huge company, like you said. And I really do think that the closer we get and how we keep aligning with that over and over again, because it could shift, right? But I think that as we keep doing the work to get clear on where we feel in, I guess, true alignment with our purpose, I feel like is where we also find the most life satisfaction and happiness and fulfillment, right? I think that's when people really start to do work that's based on their purpose, is when they really feel like they're doing it right. They're doing life right,
They're finding meaning.
With that said, though, I do want to throw out, and I'm curious how you feel about this. One of the things that I talk about with people sometimes is that there's kind of, in my opinion, two, maybe more variations of people. The people like me, who I kind of think are bratty brats, where we can't work in something that we don't love. Like, I have to be aligned with my work. I have to be aligned with what I'm passionate about. But then I think that there's other people who can potentially have a job that just provides them a good income, and that income allows them to pay for their hobby, for their passion. And so then some people are like, well, should I always be working, doing what I love? Or is that okay to have a job that I don't love that much, but I get to do my hobby or contribute in some other way? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I think ultimately as humans, we need to seek happiness and joy. So that comes in lots of different forms. And for some people, it means working and spending their money on their hobby, whatever that might be. So I think, sometimes we're skewed with the structure and society that we do have, because everything is moving towards that sort of profit building, like the capitalist society, right? But ultimately, if you can find happiness and you can be in that energy, then everything else you do will be that much better for it. So purpose looks different for different people, but I think finding joy is one of the fundamental pieces of being human.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Talking about all kinds of fun stuff. We've been talking about ecopsychology and earth-based practices and rites of passage and vision quests and all the fun stuff. But I also want to make sure we share some of the things that we talked about, such as the 5 ways that you can create a more sustainable income in the new business paradigm. So could you go ahead and share with us some of those pieces?
Sure. So we've talked about the eco-psychology piece as sort of a principle of how we would live our lives or how we would set our intention for our business. And so the income piece is where there comes some kind of tension for us, right? Because money and these earth-based practices don't always seem to integrate really smoothly, right? And what I do is work with mostly solopreneurs, so people who are just on their own building their businesses. Occasionally there's organizations or partnerships, et cetera. But often it's very small, one or two groups of people. And this is one way that we can start to come back to an economy that is based on sort of a craftsmanship or what I like to call artisans of the heart. Like we're coming back into a way of bringing our gifts and skills and trade into the world, and then there's an exchange for that. So versus the large corporations and companies where there's lots of people and the system is just sort of funneling things through it, and not everybody is really aware of what's happening or where the money's coming from or how that's happening, and if that's all in integrity with their values.
Right.
So the smaller we can go, the more local we can go, the more specific we can be, the more we can really align with our true values of our heart as people and for the planet. And that doesn't mean we don't create a profit, right? Because we do live in this economic system, so we need to have money. So one of the ways that we can do that is to create, as individuals, looking at our personal economy, create multiple streams of income. So rather than thinking about being an employee and getting a paycheck where it's from one thing and one thing only, we create a diverse array of ways that money can come into our lives. So multiple streams of income for small business owners, for entrepreneurs, or just for individuals, even a stay-at-home mom. When one stream of income dries up or goes away or has a transition, there are others that are supporting you. And so shifting from this one income stream where it's relying so heavily on, a group of people or system that may falter at some time, to this other idea of creating some kind of responsibility for ourselves through multiple streams of income and knowing that we can transition one out and bring another one in. And so this also allows us to tap into our creativity as humans, and really be connected to how we can be innovative, right? Create new things and bring new offers and new services to the world that are needed.
Yes.
So as, a coach or a holistic practitioner, somebody that's running a small client-based business, I would encourage them to find out what their clients actually need and then respond to that.
Yeah.
So then we're responding to human need versus profit need.
Let's just nail that home. To respond to what they need, right? To really allow ourselves to get clear about what are the people that we're trying to serve really needing.
Yeah, versus what do we think they need or what do we want to do? It's bringing us back into a more collective way of being.
Yeah.
Communities used to revolve around what are the human needs and how do we meet those needs on a regular basis, right? And now we're in this paradigm where it's all about the money, it's all about what we need to buy, we want to consume more, and that drives us in a different way. It drives us away from our natural way of being. So the more we can diversify our income and be in our creative, natural flow as humans, and then respond to our needs and the needs of our community, the more we come back into that collective way of being.
Yes.
So the second way of creating sustainable income is to really have that collective in mind. So even if you're an individual in business, building a community around your business, and this is a traditional way that people have done business, is we need each other to grow and create a profit, right? But if we can think of the collective based on needs and build our business around that, that can create a more sustainable income model for the collective or the community that is coming together. So it isn't just about our income, it's about everybody having their needs met and the flow of money, right? Like currency is based on flow. There's a lot of words that are around money that are actually connected to the earth and ways that the earth comes into being. So current is one example. So if we can think about money flowing back and forth through this collective, through the community, through our personal economy into somebody else's, versus I need to get this money and then I'm going to pay my bills. So it's a big shift, and it's a difficult one. It's not, really easy to just step into that. It takes time. I'm building that as I go, you know? So I think it's something that we aspire to.
Yeah.
And again, I would call you back to Charles Eisenstein's Sacred Economics I mentioned earlier. Going on his website, looking at that video can be a really great first step to understanding how we can step into this new way of being.
Yeah.
And he says, we don't really have time for the transition. We're in such a crisis moment on the planet. We really need to step into the new way of doing things. That's really the only answer.
Yeah.
So, the next piece would be partnering with others. So if you're a business owner, partnering with other business owners and truly building your business around the partnership and helping each other to build your businesses in a way that is based on the needs of the community. So it's just another level of that collective idea. So what we're building with these three pieces is more of an ecosystem around your business. Right. It's, if we look at the earth itself, if you look from a bird's eye view and you look at the pathways of water, for example, even if you looked at Santa Rosa as an example, you can look at the laguna that is in our area. And if you look at that from a map view above the earth, you see that there's lots of intersections and interconnections, and there's parts where the water is really full and abundant and parts where it's more dry. And that's kind of the way that we operate with our money too, or that we could be operating more. So we're stepping into that ecosystem and being present to it as an ecosystem and just thinking about it differently. So we shift the way that we're in relationship to money and business.
Yeah.
So a really specific thing, especially for people who are coaches, practitioners, therapists, body workers, anybody that's in a client-based practice. One of the things that might seem counterintuitive to our discussion is actually raising your rates or creating packages. And this could seem counterintuitive, but the goal here is to build commitment from the practitioner and the person that's receiving the service so that there can actually be a completion to the work. So if you've ever gone and gotten a massage, you go once and you feel great, right? But the truth is, if you have ailments in your body that have taken 30 years to develop, you're going to need more than one session to actually solve the problem, to find ease and peace in your body again. And so any body worker can tell you that, you're going to need to come for a certain amount of time. We're going to work together on these things, and we're going to check in 3-6 months later and see how it's going, right? Because the body doesn't just change overnight. So really having that commitment as a practitioner, and then from the person, the client who's receiving the service, this would increase the rate per hour or per package of sessions. But it also increases the actual likelihood that there's a quality interaction, that there's success at the end of your relationship, and that somebody actually meets their needs versus this sort of instant gratification thing that we have going in our culture. So with most transformational work, it takes time. It's not going to be a one-off thing. It's not something you can just go buy on the shelf, take a pill, and it's done.
That's right.
So we need to commit to this new way of being, our natural flow, and we're going to need help to do that. And so holistic practitioners can help us do that in many different ways. And now I'm not saying don't go into the Western medical system if you have a health problem. I'm not saying don't go see a doctor. So I just want to put that out there. But it is worthwhile to invest in our health and wellness and that natural flow of our being that we're talking about today. And for the practitioner themselves, they may need to raise their rates or create packages in their business to create an actual sustainable income. Because what I hate to see is a holistic practitioner helping everyone else be well, and they don't even have the money for their own health and wellness.
Yeah.
And they can't pay their own bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and unfortunately, I think that's somewhat common.
It is. Yeah.
And I think that, I don't know, this might be a little side topic, but I've noticed too with a lot of the helpers, healers, etc., that I call it the Jesus complex, that sometimes we feel guilty for accepting money for helping people. Like Jesus didn't charge money to heal, and I've noticed that with myself when I was building the business. I've noticed it with a lot of other coaches and healers, that it's like, well, if I'm just meant to help and heal, like it's almost like blasphemous to charge money or something, right?
Yeah. And, traditionally shamans and healers in indigenous cultures did not always receive money. They received gifts, they received food, they received shelter, but they were taken care of by their communities. Now, healers in our day, we have to receive money because we're not receiving the other things. The healers are not being taken care of in that way. I just got chills.
That's such a good point.
So they need to have the money so that they can purchase those things for themselves: food, shelter, basic health care, wellness, etc. So we're just in a different system, and it flows in a different way, but ultimately we need the same things as human beings. So healers need to get paid.
That's right. I like that. Boom. Handled it. Thank you. Yeah. And also another just thing that I like to add to the conversation when we're talking about building a better future, in my opinion, the two ways that we make the biggest influence on our future are the way we raise our kids and the way we spend our money. Right. And so the way where we're spending money, like you're talking about, doing stuff locally as much as possible, really knowing what you're spending your money on, what you're supporting potentially. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that is an important thing for us to raise our awareness around. Where is our money going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're talking about bringing in new streams of income, ways that you can create sustainable income. But the sustainable piece is not always about just how the money comes in. It's about how it goes out. So it's definitely about your decisions that you make on an everyday basis. It's not just the big decisions of, where do we buy a house, or what does a house look like, or do we get solar panels? It's the little decisions, like how many to-go coffee cups do you use in a month when you buy your coffee out all the time, for example. So those little pieces are what adds up to like massive impact on the earth, right? So if we look at everybody who goes to Starbucks every single day and gets 1 or 2 cups of coffee, they're always getting their paper cup, how much waste we're creating.
Yes.
So it's not just about recycling, it's about, reducing that consumption.
Yeah.
And coming back to our basic needs. Like, we don't need that much.
Yeah. That's
coffee.
Right. Yeah.
Or Starbucks.
Right. That's right.
And it's a hard thing. Like, I still get coffee in a to-go cup once in a while. Like, we're all going to do it, but just making the intention and being thoughtful about our decisions and where we're spending our money.
And, the way I started is just like picking certain things that I could change, like I try to only buy one brand of hand soap and toilet paper. And it's a brand that I know is super aligned with like environmental rights, human rights, how they treat their workers, and is it like maybe a little bit more than the super mainstream brands? Yeah. Am I kind of okay with that? Because I know where my money's going.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because ultimately there is always a cost. Even if you're not paying that dollar cost, there is a cost somewhere.
Yep.
And so the cheaper an item is when it's mass produced, that cost is just being distributed in a different way. And often it's distributed to other people in other countries that we don't see all the time. And so we don't think of it when we're looking at the shelf at Walmart or Target or the grocery store, but the cost is there, and it's going to start to affect all of us because it is affecting our planet and our home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the last piece of creating sustainable income that I encourage people to do is go online. And, of course, there are batteries in computers, et cetera, that affect sustainability. So there are some implications there. But the more that we can get away from creating products and things that we buy and purchase that are not sustainable, and move towards education, information, experience, transformation, there's this booming culture of courses online that, people are participating and learning all kinds of things all over the world through the click of a button. And so we can all bring our gifts online and receive income for that. That is one way that you could create an income stream for yourself. It can be very simple. It can start to feel overwhelming when you don't know how to do it, but one step at a time. Think about it one step at a time, and go on and find somebody else who's done it before you and learn from them. So you take an online course on how to build an online course, and then you can learn and then apply that and start creating an income stream that way.
Yeah. And that's such a huge way for people like us, right?
Mm-hmm.
To really share, if we've been gifted some wisdom and some ways to teach it, maybe in a different way, because that's the thing. Sometimes we're all saying some of the same things, but the way that we say them sometimes makes the difference in how people are able to really hear them and really integrate them, right?
Yeah, and the fact is there's billions of people on our planet. So I hear this thing of like, well, who's going to want that, or who's going to want to hear from me? I mean, if you have a community of 1,000 people or 10,000 people, that is such a small percentage of our human population, right?
Yeah.
Like anybody could go on there and find 10,000 people and build a community and start bringing in income. Anybody. That I truly believe that.
Yeah. Wow. Yes. All right. So what about 3 steps to creating connection and engagement with our community?
Yeah, so that's an easy one. This is something I teach in my courses and on my online workshops and webinars. This is my 3-step model that I bring into everything. So
Cool.
It is, ready? Drum roll.
Ba-da-da-da.
Step 1, connect. Step 2, serve. And step 3, invite. So rather than sell,
All of our problems are solved.
maybe not everything, but rather than sell as business owners, people who are trying to build our own income and livelihood, coming from that place of connection, which for me is founded on all these principles that we're talking about today, and then being of service. What do people need? How do we be of service to that, the actual human need, both of ourselves and our community that we're serving? And then if it is a right fit for somebody, I want to repeat that. If it is a right fit,
Yes.
inviting them into something that could be paid, where you go deeper into the work with each other. And if it's not a right fit, letting them go on to find what is.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have to sell everything to everyone.
Yeah.
It's like find the people that are right connection and right fit for you. You know, just come from that place of connection and service, and people who are a right fit will come. They will show up. They will want more, and you will be ready to serve them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm just like thinking about it still. I'm like, connect, serve, and invite. And I think that the invite part is where sometimes, well, actually, no, hold on. Connect, serve, and invite. I've heard some people getting concerned about giving away too much for free. Do you have a thought on that?
Yes. So you want to
Can
give,
we hear it?
Yes. You do want to give a lot of content. You want to share what your mission is, what your vision is, what you're talking about, who you are as a brand, especially if you're a solopreneur. If you're a company and organization, you know that you have to bring your culture to people before they're going to trust you. And so the way to know if somebody is a right fit and whether or not you would invite them in is kind of this like dating process. I use that analogy a lot. You have to get to know each other before you want to go on the second date, right? And if you don't want to kiss each other on the second date, then, you know, like maybe we shouldn't go on a third date.
Yeah.
Right. So same thing in business. It's like if you're learning something from me as a practitioner, as a business coach, for example, and it doesn't feel in alignment for you, then you'll go find somebody else. And that's fine.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. Like somebody else will resonate with what I'm speaking about.
Yes.
And so when we give content and inspiration and information like you do, that's a way for people to get to know us, to build the know, like, and trust factor, and to come into relationship. So we're building that connection and being of service to them before we ever ask them for money.
Yeah.
So the thing that I would encourage people not to do, especially as holistic practitioners, don't give free sessions. A free session is totally different than giving free content. And a free session can get you in trouble because people have that instant gratification that happens. Like we talked about with the body worker, if you get a massage, you feel really good. So when somebody has a free session, they feel like, oh, great, I've got all the answers. I feel so good. Oh my God, you're amazing. I'll be on my way and my life is going to be great. And as practitioners, we know transformation process takes a while. They're probably going to need to do some work on that for a set amount of time.
Yeah.
You know, my minimum that I encourage people is 3 months. Like if you really want to make a change in your life, it's going to take a while. So dedicate 90 days
I think
to it.
even 3 months is kind of short.
It is short. It depends on what you're doing.
Yeah.
So for some people it's 6 months or a year, right? And so this is why we want to get commitment on both sides. And we really need to know each other, like each other, trust each other before we can get into that place.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So let's talk about a money tool for getting clear on how much you need plus want to receive.
Great. So I've adapted this money tool from Barry Tesler. She just published the book, The Art of Money, which I highly recommend. You can look up The Art of Money. It will pop up, or Barry Tesler online. And she talks about herself as a money therapist and a mamapreneur. She's one of the people that I follow that's really inspiring to me. So the exercise that you can do is actually take some time to journal, reflect on 3 levels of money for your personal economy. So the first is, what are your basic needs? So we often think of, oh my God, I need more money. I need more money. I need more money. Not, what do I actually need the money for?
Yeah.
Most people are not budgeting. Some people are. And the first stage is, what do I actually need? And that gets into that decision-making process that we were talking about earlier, is like, what do I actually need to feel fulfilled, to be safe in my life, to have my health taken care of? What are what's the baseline? So this level is the need level. So you jot down everything you need in your life, but not starting with the dollars. Start with what you need. I need to have a home. I need to have, for me, I try to buy organic food. So that's a need for me. I need to have fresh water. I need to make sure I have clean clothes. That doesn't mean they have to be brand new. So these are needs that I have, right? For me, I need my cell phone. That's a bill I need to pay.
Yeah.
So jot all of those things down, and then write down the cost of those things and come up with your need budget. So that's the baseline income that you need to bring in. The next level is your comfort level. So this is beyond need. It's where you're comfortable in your life, but you don't have every single thing you desire. The comfort level probably includes, for me, it might be like getting a facial. That's not a need, but it would be great if I could get a facial every couple months. That would be something that would bring more comfort into my life. It would be great if I could go on vacation or on a retreat, or, give really meaningful gifts to my friends. These aren't really basic needs, but they're things that would be in my comfort level.
Sure.
So start with what you want in your comfort level, then write the prices down and come up with your budget. The next level is desire. So if I could truly have the income I desire to do my purposeful work, to bring meaning into my life and the life of others, what does this desire level income look like? Now, when we get real about it and actually write down what we desire in our life, what we want our lifestyle to look like, what do we want our livelihood to look like, and how much that's going to cost, there's usually a surprise moment, because people are often like, well, if I had everything I wanted, I would have $1 million. I'd be a millionaire, I'd be a billionaire, whatever. I'd drive a Ferrari. Like, these things have been planted into our mind.
Yes.
So actually write down what it is you desire in your life. Right. So,
and like you said, get real about it. Like, super honest with yourself. Like, I love my Honda. You know what I mean? Like, I might want a little bit of a fancier car, but not much, because I think I'm pretty cool with my Honda,
Great.
And that's, I think people are so, like you said, they're so fed the things we're supposed to want or whatever, that it's like, I don't want a big house at all. Actually, it's more to clean, and it keeps when I have a family, it keeps us more separated. I don't want that.
Great.
Yeah.
So your desire list has some already really specific, tangible things.
Yep.
So then if that's really tangible for you, then you can start to figure out how much that would cost.
Yeah.
And so the desire level actually helps us as business owners to create different levels or phases in our business. So we meet the basic needs first, the comfort needs second, the desire needs third, and we can build our business in those phases. So the desire needs, say it would be, $180,000 a year. That would meet your desire income level. Then you know that you need to build your business to a certain amount where your income is going to be 180,000. So maybe that's 250,000 in revenue in your business minus expenses and taxes, and you have your income left over. I just threw that out there. That's probably not the right numbers with the level of taxes we pay, but
yeah, who knows? But still, it's a tool that we can utilize, because I think that that's another thing. I know for me, it's tricky to get real clear on the numbers piece, So thank you for that. Yeah. Excellent. Wow. We covered a lot of ground today. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Anything that that we didn't cover that you want to make sure you get in there?
I think that's pretty good for now.
Yeah,
I mean, that was pretty comprehensive.
I think we nailed it. We nailed it. Well, then in that case, first of all, like I said, I'm so grateful that you were able to be here today. So I want people to know, how can they find out more information about you and what you do?
Sure. So you can always go to my website, audragrady.com, and I actually have a free gift for you there. If you sign up with your email, you can get a blueprint for how to build your conscious business. And that's just one way we can start to get to know each other and build this relationship. And I'm also on Facebook and other social media. So Audra Grady, I think I'm the only one in the world. So you can definitely find me. Just Google it.
Cool.
And I'd be really happy to step into relationship and connection with you and see where that goes.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. And here's the fun question that I didn't warn you about.
Okay. Ooh,
if you could shout one thing to the world, what would it be?
I think it would be my motto for the last year, which is just freedom. Freedom from all that holds us back from our fullest expression.
Yeah.
As human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think I needed to hear that too today. Excellent. Well, thank you again so much for being here, for sharing all this great information with everyone that was listening and listening to the recording. I mean, this is where we're heading. You know, this is big stuff. So I just really appreciate you being one of the front runners for us right now.
Thank you. Yeah, it was truly my pleasure to be here, and this work is going to continue to unfold. So let's keep having
buckle up,
talks.
people. Buckle up. All right. Well, thank you again, Audra. And thank you for listening to Information and Inspiration with Jen Julius. For more information about me and to check out some of my previously recorded shows, you can go to jenjulius.com or like me on Facebook or Instagram at Jen Julius Coaching. Thank you. Take care.